December 4th marks day 6 of this year's Advent season. And we hear today, Abram has another encounter with the living, loving God, with a God who makes promises and who keeps them. Let's listen today, my dear friends of Christ, to the promise that God makes to Abram. This, my dear friends, is chapter 15 in the book of Genesis. Chapter 15, verses 1 through 6. Sometime after these events, this word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Fear not, Abram, I am your shield. I will make your reward very great. But Abram said, O Lord God, what good will your gifts be if I keep on being childless and have as my heir the steward of my house, Eleazar? Abram continued, See, you have given me no offspring, and so one of my servants will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him. No, that one shall not be your heir. Your own issue shall be your heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the sky and count the stars if you can. Just so, he added, shall your descendants be. Abram put his faith in the Lord, who credited it to him as an act of righteousness. My dear friends of Christ, do you not see the great promise that God makes to Abram? Abram in his confusion and in his being confounded. God had first promised this land to his descendants, to Abram's descendants. That means that if Abram is to have descendants, then he must have sons of his own, who will have sons of their own, and continuing on down the line. But it has been some time after God has made this first promise to Abram, and Abram remains childless. Abram cannot conceive in his mind how God will fulfill this promise unless it means that God is asking him to take his servant as his heir. God corrects Abram's confusion and his misunderstanding. And God says to him, Let me show you my creation. Let me show you what I have made. Let me show you what man will marvel at centuries after you die, and will sing the song that one of your ancestors will sing. The Lord and God, when I look at the moon and the stars which you arranged, what is man that you keep him in mind, mortal man that you care for him? Yet you have made him little less than the angels. Psalm 8, that David, the king, will compose many, many, many years after Abram, centuries even. God tells Abram, look at the stars, marvel at them. And just as the psalmist centuries hence will sing, marvel now at them, marvel now at what I shall do, just as you cannot enumerate and count the number of stars that are in the heavens. I know every one of them by name. I've created them. There are countless stars. So shall your descendants be. Do you know what that means, saints in the making? That means what God has promised to Abram millennia ago. You and I are part of that promise. Those stars that Abram saw in the sky, those innumerable stars, represented in part you and me, and all those who are in the faithful fold of the church, who are heirs to the promise of the promised land, who are descendants of Abraham. My dear friends in Christ, what a great blessing that is. Let us, you and me, as we place this new ornament on our Jesse tree. Let us remember that we are Abram's descendants. And as his descendants, we too have received the promise of God. Let us therefore, you and I, in every way and at every time, let us make space for grace.